Excelcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I'd like to welcome back Mando Sallavanti. Mando, how are you doing, man?
Joe, appreciate you having me back on. I'm excited for today. I felt like last time we spoke, we could have went for 10 hours, never mind one. So it's going to be fun today.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So, how have you been? What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Things have been good, man. A lot of change in my life. Actually, one of the things, joining up with a couple of business partners and running our financial planning practice together, and some other exciting things in business in terms of growth. So when we were initially talking, I actually had forgotten to bring that up, but a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces lately in business.
Yeah, can you share any of those with us, or are they kind of like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So basically, I was scaling a lot this year, like a lot of new clients, and that's obviously great. It's a good problem to have when you're like, hey, I have a lot of clients. Let me make sure that I'm actually going to follow through and service these people.
yeah,
And it led me to look at partnering up with a couple other advisors in my office, and one of them being a mentor of mine, and two others. And we decided it was going to be mutually beneficial to team up. So we teamed up, continuing to grow, continuing to bring people in. I also hired an assistant, which I hadn't had an assistant 3.5 years in business so far. And this is the first time I've hired one. So it's scary,
mm,
but it's exciting because I'm seeing firsthand, like I'm getting creative of, okay, I shouldn't be doing that. I should send it to Nicole. Her name's Nicole. So just thinking about stuff like that and realizing how much time is back in my day, even though it's not
mm.
cheap to pay my assistant, like that's an investment in the business for sure. But there's just so much time back in the day. And even with my partners, like all of us playing to our strengths so that we can make 1 + 1 = 3, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. You realize that, not that it would be better for you to focus on other things and to pay Nicole to do the tasks that your time may not be as well spent. And that opportunity cost is something that you definitely had to analyze beforehand, before you made that decision. Was it easy? I know the money part was definitely probably a little difficult at first to get over, but how about the control of everything that's going on? How was that for you, giving that up?
It's tough, and I'm still in the middle of it right now. She's only been with me for about a month, which she's been awesome. Like, honestly, if you told me a month ago that she would be where she is now, I'd be shocked. I thought I would have to hold her hand a lot more in a lot of stuff. But we also have a lot
Yeah.
of good resources with my firm that people are there to help, like, get her up to speed. So, anyways, the control is difficult because one of the things I'm having her do is a lot of client communications. And that's
Mm,
tough because my whole career working with my clients, every time they hear from any piece of my business, it's me. It never was anyone else. And even now in our process, like I take the initial call. One of my partners, Aggie, takes the second one. Another one of my partners, Michelle, takes the third one. And then I'm back on the fourth one with my third partner, Tim, and we go at that meeting together. Or Michelle. Michelle will come on there too, just depending on the client and whatnot. But when you take that onboarding and it's 4 meetings where I was on all 4 of those before, now I'm only on 2, that piece
mm.
even has been tough to say, like, I got to step back. I got to just do my part and let the rest of the team do their part. But my partners are amazing. Like, they do a great job. So it hasn't been hard to do. It's just one of those things of like, trust the process, if you want to use a cliche.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you with that process, what has that been the most difficult? Was like the control factor of it or the planning portion of it? What would you say was more difficult?
I think there's a couple things that were challenges and still are. Like even this morning, every Monday and Thursday, I meet with Nicole to sort of like beginning of week, end of week,
Mm,
like what do we got to do still? And I try to bring her as much stuff as I can because it's like I'm paying her. If I don't give her tasks, then I'm paying her for nothing. So I need to be very intentional about what can be
mm,
done that I shouldn't be doing. And also it's unlocked this new challenge of like, there's things that I could or want to do in my business that before I wouldn't do because I just don't have the time in the day. I need to focus on other things. Whereas now I can dive so deep to find new things that go a level deeper than I had gone within my business that Nicole could do for me. And it's worth it for me to have her do that. I know that's a little bit conceptual, but does that make sense?
Yeah, so like you wouldn't have explored, option you usually explore option A, option B was always there, but you didn't have enough time and it wasn't worth your time. But now you'd be like, hey Nicole, this has always been sitting in the back of my mind. Can you go explore this a little further and see if we can use it in our regular business practices?
So like here's a perfect example of something I had her do that I probably would have never done if I when I was just by myself. I had her go through our CRM, so like client relationship manager, which is just a system where or database where you hold all your client information. And I
Yeah.
had her scrape all of the clients, who's scheduled, when are they scheduled, update in our CRM when they're scheduled, and the last time we met with them, make sure all of their personal information was in there because often what happens with clients, like we have to open accounts or move money or whatever. So we want to make sure we have that handy so we're not going back and forth with the client. So I had her go through
Yeah.
every household, make sure that's there, scrape the entire system. If anything's not there, reach out to every client and get that input. That took her an entire 2 days. If I was going to go spend an entire 2 days on that, that would be a complete waste of time for me because I need to be meeting with clients. I need to be working on clients' plans. That thing, it's really like a nice to have that's going to save a lot of time over the years and over the months, really sooner than years. But if I didn't have her, I probably would never even do that. You know what I mean? Like that's just one
Yeah.
example though.
Yeah, and also trying to, even if you weren't going to take 2 whole days to do it, if you just tried to like section it off day by day, that would even like, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours a day to do this. I feel like that would be really tedious to a point. Like just trying to go through and recognize all that and change all that.
I think as a business owner, or I think salespeople, this is in line. You need to segment all of your tasks and say, like, task one makes me X amount per hour, task two makes me this, task three makes me this. You'll have a bunch of tasks that make you nothing as well, but they're probably necessary in business. So where I geek out on business and I start to think about things, it's like, okay, well, I have these that make me the most money. I have these that make me nothing or even lose me money, but they still need to be done. How can I pay someone a tenth of what this activity over here makes me to do this activity that loses me money, and now
Mm.
this is my gain in between here. So the quicker you can do that and delegate all of that off, I think that's the quicker you can scale in your business. And I'm just starting to get on that journey myself, but it's been very
Yeah.
exciting so far.
Yeah, the optimization of time is huge, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur like you are. Well, not solo. You do have other people with you,
Not
but
anymore.
yeah.
I was not
Oh.
anymore.
Oh, so you're fully independent now.
Well, no, like with my team, like I have my three partners now. Before I was
Okay.
solo, so I have my three partners now, and um, we split business and we're a partnership.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. What have you learned since being with those partners?
I think a major lesson I've learned is a cliche. Alone you could
Yeah.
go alone you can go fast, but together you can go further. And it's cliche and you hear that all the time and see it in quotes that people post on Instagram. But here's the reality. When I started my career, I had a lot of success early. Enough success to make me think that I didn't need anyone but myself. And I can
Mm.
build and go big and do whatever I needed to do as long as I put my mind to it. But at some point, you can only work so hard. You can only do so much in so little time. At some point, you're going to need other people around you if you want to get to a certain level in your business or in your career. And you can even talk about this in your own life. Because if I
Yeah.
think about if I do X amount of revenue or X amount of production and I want to 10x that, it's impossible to do 10 times the amount of effort. it's literally impossible. Like, what, I'm going to work 400 hours a week? Like, no, that's just not going to happen. So, okay, I could get better at what I do. Well, can I really get 10 times more efficient? Just me? Probably not. And I think that's where other people come into play. And it by far has been the biggest lesson I've learned so far. Like, you can only go so far yourself until you need other people. And that's how you exponentially grow.
Yeah. I mean, from the bottom, right? Like whenever someone's at the bottom, like I remember last time when we were talking, you said there was one time where you made like $300 in what was it, like 2 months or 3 months,
Yeah,
something
my
like that.
first 3 months, my first 3 months in business, literally.
Yeah, you made $300. So from there to where you were before the partnership, you probably were 10xing your production. But it gets
Yeah,
to a point where you can no longer 10x that production anymore. And that's something that me personally with like weight loss, like I had to get into because pounds were dropping off me super fast to a point where my body was like, dude, we can't do this anymore. So I had to switch up my mindset from weight loss to muscle gain.
bro,
And that wouldn't
bro.
have happened had I not.
Here's
Yeah.
here's the big thing that people don't realize. Sometimes the 10x is not in the same arena that it was before.
Mm.
So with weight loss, like, you 10x'd the weight loss that you had at some point, and you continue to lose weight, but there's diminishing returns in that game that you're playing. Eventually the game needs to change. So for you, it became, okay, well, I lost the weight. How do I overall become healthier? So now I'm in a totally different game. Same thing with me. It's like, I'm making good money, advancing my career, growing my business, but eventually on my own, that's a production game, and I can only go so far. When I switched up to being with my team and being on a partnership and now having an assistant, and we have other ambitions to bring in other advisors and train them and teach them the philosophies we have, that's a totally other game, because you go from let me just produce to let me develop people that produce for me and with me.
Yeah, dude, that's big. And that's huge because I've never, even before this conversation, never really viewed it like that. Like I did it, but kind of just out of a moment of complete wear and tear when it came to, what I was doing when it came to like my fitness. Like it was just complete wear and tear where it's like, all right, 8 to 10 miles a day, this is no longer feasible for me. I need to be able to focus and live my life and do other things other than this. How do I alter what I'm doing right now to be able to do that? That's kind of like what you're doing with hiring an assistant. You're like, I can do all these things, but it's getting to a point now where I got to kind of change and alter this so I can go to the next level.
It's a scarcity versus an abundance mindset, because almost any time you're going to have an exponential jump in life, in my experience, you're going to need to take steps backwards to take steps forward. Another
Mm.
cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. Right now, I'm in the middle of taking steps backward. I'm paying my assistant what she charges. I'm taking time that I have to teach her, and it's really double my time, because before I would do the task, now I show her how to do the task and teach her, so it's double the time to do one thing. But I realize 6 months from now, and I'm keeping this mindset of, let me just do this 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, then I could decide if it's worth it or not. And I know the answer is that it's going to be worth it, but I'm keeping that in my own mind, because every time you pay that salary,
Mm.
that hurts. And you just have to keep in mind, if I take this step back to build the foundation the way it should be, it will pay off in the long run, because you can't build 100-story skyscraper on a 10-story foundation.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss. And it has to do with the instant gratification mindset that a lot of people have, that I've had at certain points. It's, I want to pay for this now and I want it to return immediately. I don't want to sit here and wait. Same thing with people buying and selling stocks. As soon as the stock market crashes, they want to sell immediately. They don't want to put more money in. They don't want to play that long game. And I feel like that vision of the long game is vitally important to investing in yourself, investing in real investing in stocks, and also investing in your business. So what change? I mean, I don't even know if you did change. Maybe you've always been a long-term mindset individual, but was there ever a turning point that made you start to think long-term rather than short-term?
It's a really good question. And I haven't thought much on this actually. I think I've always played the long game
Mm,
naturally. I think it started with sports and weight loss and whatnot. Like for me, it was a little bit of a different journey. Like I was a fat kid, like I was a chubby kid, and I I, I think we talked about this last time we spoke.
we
Like
did.
the weight room as a 10-year-old because I had to go on runs and wear hoodies and whatnot to lose weight so I could play junior football. That's where my work ethic started. But then I started to see like if I can give up this chicken fingers and french fries today and eat a salad or whatever it was, I know that a few months later I will be in better physical shape and I will reap the rewards of that. So these were shorter term, long term gains, but shorter term for a 10-year-old. 3 months is an eternity. But
Yeah.
I was seeing it pay off then. So I think naturally in my life, as even as I got into my career, it was like just put the work in, do what you can control, and in the long run, it'll work out for you. I think it stems from that, but fortunately, I think I've had that mindset throughout my life, and again, stemming back to 10-year-old me playing junior football.
Did you ever think that that was going to play the role that it did back when
Dude,
you were
no,
10 years old?
no,
Yeah.
like for me, it was literally I want to be a football player, and I don't want to be a little fat kid anymore. Like that was literally it. I had no thoughts on it whatsoever. I did start to see, and I was very aware of this as I was in high school. Like the weight room just made sense to me because when you get to high school football, like they obviously push like get in the weight room. That's how you're going to be good in high school, and like this is how you become an athlete. And I never had pushback on that from day one. It was just like okay, like we lift these days. It's just part of the process. You do it and you move forward. As I got to college, I did realize that that was outside the norm because like that just wasn't what people did. It was like people complaining to go to workouts and whatnot. So it's interesting to think about. I haven't really put much thought into that though.
Yeah. I mean, in college, I know Coach Stet had us up at 4:45 in the morning, so
Oh
I know
my
some
god,
guys weren't I know some guys weren't too excited about that. But he always brought the energy though. He wasn't sitting like on a bench with a coffee like watching us work out. Like he was working out
yeah,
with us. So can't really can't really fault the guy for that. But yeah, I know myself personally. I always showed up though, but it was very wearing on the mental,
bro.
especially if you
You
didn't
talk,
get in bed.
dude. You talk about that though. Like that is one of the hardest things I ever did was get up at 4 o'clock every
Yeah,
because if you were lifting at 5 you were up at 4 because you had to eat breakfast because if you didn't eat breakfast you would go there and get sick. So
yeah,
doing that for a whole semester and then going into summer workouts, and for me I lived local so I was literally working out with Coach Kerstetter every single summer. Well, not every summer, the one summer that he was with us, like we worked out every single day. And I look back to college football and I'm like, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know how I look back and think, and Joe, you know, I was as into football as anybody. Like you know that. And I
yeah,
look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that. Like I really just don't even know. But I'm grateful because now with my career, it makes everything
yeah,
else like dull in comparison.
yeah, yeah. I find myself doing that a lot too, though. I find myself looking back, and I'm like, whenever anything ever seems hard, I'm like, I remember when we had to used to roll 100 yards and then roll back 100 yards if we ever got in trouble. And I'm like, I don't think anything will ever be as awful as that in my life. So I don't know why I even complain. And that's what reflection that's a huge thing that reflection plays in your life. Because if you look back and you think on everything that you've been through and everything that you've accomplished, today doesn't seem that hard. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever like reflected on a moment that's helped you gotten through whatever you're going through whenever you're going through something?
I could tell you this when I have hard stuff quote unquote, when I have hard things that I face today, I look at
Yeah.
them and you sort of get that mindset of why do I have to go through this? I don't want to go through this. This sucks. But at the
Yeah.
same time, when I look back to anything great that I've done in my life or any successes that I've had so far, there's always been this moment where you push through that and you get through that adversity. And then I bring myself back to the present, and it's like, yo, this is when it happens. Like, if you don't take advantage now, you're not getting this thing that you want. You need to execute now. And that could be something as small as I'm trying to lose weight and it's 9 o'clock at night and I'm not going in the fridge to eat another meal that I shouldn't eat. Or it could be something as big as I have a meeting with someone who could mean a multi-million-dollar relationship to me throughout the course of my lifetime, and I need to execute on whatever the action item in this meeting is.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share one of those big moments that you had in a meeting and how you prepared for it?
Yeah, dude. There's a very specific one from my first year in business where, and I have multiple of these, but this one sticks out more than any that I've ever had. I was seeing a little bit of success. So we're past the time where I only made $300 in my first 3 months. This was in my fifth-ish month and
Yeah.
got a couple clients at this point, doing well. And I had a meeting with who I would consider an A client.
Mm-hmm.
And this was pretty much the meeting where I either convince them to work with me and they move forward, or they don't see the value and they don't move forward. And to make a long story short, he did move forward with me. He did hire me as his advisor, and I manage his money, and I'm his guy. And I still am to this day, 2.5 years later. But I remember getting out of that meeting and I was just like, yo, you're built for this. Like you got it. Like, if this guy is working with you, like, if you didn't have the confidence before, you better have it now, because you got
Yeah.
it now. So there's not really much depth to that story, and I can't go too far because
No.
anonymity, however you would say that word, with the client, of course. But very vividly, I remember that meeting. I remember that day. I remember getting in the car and being like, "This is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm in the right thing."
Yeah. It was that affirming. It was that task, and once you got through that task, it affirmed that you were on the path that you're supposed to be on. And I think we all have those moments, but I'm glad that your moment worked out for you because it seems to have made you very happy and also very successful as well.
Dude, one thing that I'll tell you that I haven't reflected on until probably right this second, and this is what I love about having conversations with you, because this stuff always comes up. I don't think I ever had a moment in football where I was like, this is what I need to be doing long term, which is why I didn't pursue a career in it. And granted, again, I wasn't NFL level, but there was options out there. And I never had a
Yeah.
moment where it was just like, you are meant to be a football player. Like I never had that. Now, there was times where I'm like, okay, there's success with this and whatever, but there was never anything that it was just like, this is what you should be doing in your life. And
Yeah.
that moment with that meeting was the first time I felt this is a door that has opened where you have a huge opportunity in the vehicle that you're pursuing for your career.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And I feel like that is where a lot of it takes place when it comes to finding a career and finding a job. A lot of times people want to figure it out before they get there. And sometimes you just have to trust in what you've prepared yourself for, whether that be finance, management, marketing, whatever, wherever you choose to go, even if it's not business. But you need to take those steps and you need to at least see for 6 months, a year, is this going to be something that's going to be viable? Is this going to work out? Should I keep pursuing this? And then along that journey, there's going to be those moments where it affirms for you, just like that moment was for you. And you played football for how many years and you never had that really affirming moment, where you were like, this is what I'm meant to do. So I think that you made the right call when it comes to being a financial planner, and it suits you, dude. You do a great job of explaining everything. I've watched a lot of the other podcasts that you've been on, a lot of the other videos that you've made. Your posts on LinkedIn are some of my favorite things to read, to be honest with you. You put a lot of thought into them. I read on one of your posts, it was what, 75 comments, 75 likes, one post a day, and there was like some other crazy stat that you do every day.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
yeah.
My whole my whole thing there, I mean, that's just a volume game on LinkedIn of like, let me get in front of more people and let me have
Yeah.
genuine conversations with people to develop more relationships, because I believe the more relationships you have, the more influence you have, and the more influence you have, the further you could go towards whatever goals you're working towards. So with LinkedIn, I mean, I'm trying to send out messages every week. I'm commenting every day on people's stuff. I'm putting out a piece of my own content so they could get a taste of the way I think.
Yeah, no, dude, that's awesome. I think that plays a huge role in your success. But actually, speak to it. Do you think that LinkedIn has played a huge role in your success, or is it just kind of like a side thing that's helped you out?
So I'm going to give context. We're going to go back a few years and we're going to circle back to the answer to this.
Okay.
When I was in college and I was sneaker reselling through the pandemic, I built that on Instagram and got up to almost, 10,000 followers or so, and was selling my shoes almost entirely through Instagram. Like, I want to say that it had to be 3/4 plus of my business, and the rest of it was Snapchat. But besides the point,
Mm.
then I get into financial planning, start my business similar to the way I start sneakers. People I already know, friends, family, acquaintances, people that know me. Had success, but you can't live off that forever, and it's not a real marketing source. You're just taking advantage of the relationships you already have to say, I do this. If you need it, we can talk. I looked at where I could build a similar thing to what I did with sneakers. Instagram was an idea, but I don't think that the market I'm after is looking for a financial advisor on Instagram first. So I
Yeah.
naturally pivoted to LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I mean, now I'm over 15K, and that's growing daily. I mean, right now, basically gaining 1,000 followers a month, roughly a little bit more.
Wow.
And year to date has come just from LinkedIn, and the rest of it has pretty much been warm market slash referrals that like clients just give to me. So it's had a huge impact on my life, and honestly, I would go as far to say that LinkedIn has changed my life just based on the money I've made and the clients I've gained there that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have made this year. And I get really excited when I think about 10 years from now, what that effect will be, because, this year I've gotten 20, and I know the number because I track everything in my business. I think we talked about last time, like tracking stuff and knowing your numbers is key. But 27 clients have come in 2023 just from LinkedIn. Bro, you go 10 years, that number's not 270. It's not 10x. It's probably more like 1,000. And if it's 1,000, then I start to think about, okay, well, if it's 1,000, how can I even gain 1,000 clients? Well, I need this person. I need that person. I need this. Like, you talk about scale. This is where I need this many assistants. I need this many partners. We need this many juniors. And I get really excited. So I got on a little bit of a tangent, but that's the effect that LinkedIn's had on my business.
No, yeah, I like that concept though. Think in scale, because they always say dream big, right? Because if you dream big, that's how like those dreams will become a reality. Because if you're only thinking, okay, how many clients can I handle this week? Well, no, then you're not going to be able to handle all the clients that you and 10, 20, 30 other people can handle this week. So if you start to think, if I want, 1,000 clients, right? How many people would I need to make sure that those 1,000 clients have someone to talk to twice a month or once a month, however you set it up, right? You would need to divide that and then make sure that everyone has enough time to do everything. And then that's how you plan big picture. Now, it's always step by step, but if you don't have that big picture planned out, how are you going to then go step by step? Because you can't go step by step without a plan. I mean, you know, you can take steps in the right direction if you know, I'm going to take this client call. Yeah, obviously taking a client call is a good step in the right direction. Being nice on the call, good step in the right direction. But when it comes to thinking big and your overall plan to make your business bigger, that takes a lot of different steps, but it all starts with that main goal and that main plan.
There's two ways you could scale a business. The first way, I can raise my prices, become a premium offer, and have less clients. You're
Yeah.
gonna have a lot of churn, which churn is just the turnover of clients leaving and coming to you. You'll have a
Mm.
lot of churn in that model, but you can work less with higher prices. The
Yeah.
second way that you could scale a business, I can keep my offer at a reasonable level and I can scale and I can bring
Yeah.
people in under me. I can cater to the masses, but if I bring in the right people and hire the right people and train them up the right way with the same philosophy as me, I
Yeah.
never have to say goodbye to anybody. I can focus on keeping a really good churn rate where people don't leave often and the business still scales. I still make more money. There's still bigger impact. I would argue that there's even larger impact than the other model because now you're not only impacting your clients' lives, you're impacting more clients, but you're also impacting the people that you hire. Because the people
Yeah.
that you bring in that you train up, now they're affecting people, which is affecting their own lives. And that's where I get really excited. That's where I see my business going, especially in something like I do, financial services. It's an industry where there's a lot of connotations of I need $1 million to invest, or I need 500,000, or whatever number you want to put. But the reality is, we charge a couple $1,000s a year, a few $1,000s a year, depending on the clients for our services. We let some clients pay monthly if they want to, or need to in some cases. It makes financial advice so much more accessible to clients. And also, we don't need to turn people away because we're focused on scale this up, keep prices at a reasonable level, increase the overall impact.
Yeah. So with that model, you're kind of like a cost leader when it comes to the industry. Not that your costs are low, but you focus more on
So we
being
wouldn't
a
be. I would say
yeah.
it's a good question because it could seem like that. We wouldn't be. We would be considered a premium offer, but
Okay.
with financial advising, I would tell you the natural step people go to is how do I raise my fees and work with less
Mm.
people and just have higher fees. Whereas
Okay.
we see it, our fees are worth it for where they are. We think they're at a good level. Rather than raising fees, let's let's honor our clients by keeping fees there. They're paying a premium fee because we're providing a lot of service, but it's
Yeah.
it's less it's less than a lot of people. So let's keep these there rather as we scale, bring more people in, and then we could bring more clients in as opposed to just raising prices. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it does. Do you see any potential disadvantages to scaling out clients? Like the clients that you personally have right now, do you plan on keeping them your clients?
Yeah, so like the team works with all the clients. It's not
Yeah.
just Mando has a client and he only talks to them. That's not how we
Okay.
operate. Now, my clients before I was working with the team, a lot of them have not met my partners yet. That will change
Okay.
as time goes on for sure. But for now, we look at it as everybody will talk to the entire team, especially when you first come in. And then as time goes on, you'll talk to them. But the disadvantages to scaling with more clients and bringing in more, I wouldn't even call it partners, it'd be more so like associates because
Yep.
we're us four like the partners and then we'll scale it that way. But anyways, disadvantages would be not getting our associates trained up in time. So like that's a challenge. You obviously have to train right and get your philosophies passed down and get them up to speed. So a couple steps back for a lot of steps forward. You have to take those actions. The second piece, which I don't think really would be an issue as you would think, is people needing Mondo in a meeting, for example. Like, sure, if you're my client and you came in and you work with me, I'm going to be there and I'm going to work with you. But if we fast forward out 10 years and things are scaling and I'm growing, I view it big picture vision as becoming like a Dave Ramsey, where Dave Ramsey puts out all this great financial education. I don't agree with everything he says. A lot of people don't. I don't know one person that I agree with everything they say. But besides the point, Dave Ramsey has his Smart Vestor Pros, which are financial advisors through his network that follow his philosophies. I see our team to embody a similar model where we scale
Mm.
so much and we have our philosophies to help people with their finances that anybody on the team or within the firm, because it will become a firm on its own at some point, anybody that you're working with, embodies what Mando does, what Timmy does, what Michelle does, what Aggie does. Those are my partners.
Okay. Yeah, so it would kind of be like a law firm. I mean, I don't want to kind of compare it
No,
to a
no,
law
that's
firm.
exactly it,
Yeah.
dude. That's exactly
Okay.
it. That's
I
exactly
just
it.
yeah, I see Harvey Specter behind you, so that's immediately what came to my mind. Yeah.
That's exactly it, though.
Okay. Yeah. So that's an interesting concept to a financial firm. Not that I don't really know too much. I mean, my dad's an independent advisor, so he's solely by himself. That's really
Right.
the only structural exposure that I've had to how a financial firm's ran. So that's an interesting concept that you guys are doing. So are you guys your own entity, or how are you guys structuring this?
So we run our practice through Mass Mutual. Right now,
Mm,
we don't have our own entity, and it's just out of newness reason,
mm.
if you will. We just started partnering together about 4 months ago, but things are going amazing. Like we're definitely going to be together long term and continuing to grow. What we're doing with teaming up is, this might sound funny, but it's a newer concept to the industry. It's trending. It's definitely pushing towards that, and I think it's come from the consumer. Like people don't want one advisor; they want a team. They want multiple people. They want to. Because here's the other thing, Joe. What if I got hit by a bus yesterday? Then what happens to my? And like that sounds funny, but dead serious. I get hit by a bus yesterday.
That doesn't sound
Then
funny.
what?
Yeah.
Just like I tell clients, oh, you should have life insurance because if your family didn't have your income, what do they do? Well, the one thing that a lot of advisors don't talk about, what happens if the client loses their financial advisor that's helping them plan all this financial stuff? That's a big deal. And now all of a sudden you're back to square one. So having a team, I think, is really important for that reason. But it is something the industry is trending towards, people wanting to work with multiple advisors.
Yeah. Now, are you guys all the same kind of advisor? Do you guys have your specialties? Like, how do you guys, what information are each of you pulled in for?
It's a good question. For us, we definitely have our spots in the process that we spend more time. It
Mm,
isn't so much so a information specialty as it is, I work better at this point of the process. Aggie works better at that point. Michelle works better at that point. Tim works better at this point. There are parts of the actual plan itself when you get into the info that I may be stronger than Tim and Michelle may be stronger than me, and whatever example you want to use. But more so, we look at it as like, let's divvy out the time and what the client needs between the four of
mm,
us. That's the way that we've done it.
mm. Kind of like an assembly line for advice and service. You
It
guys just get
essentially,
really good. Yeah, you just get really good at that intake or the follow up or the closeout, and that's just what you guys really rep out. And together, you guys can get the clients more comfortable with you, and give them the information that they need, and then ultimately sign them as clients, in probably a very quicker fashion than you could have done on your own.
yeah, it's quicker overall. It's longer up front, but it leads to a lot
Mm.
of efficiencies down the road because now the client has a relationship with all four of us as opposed to one of us. So when they need stuff, it's very easy to act quickly because let's say I'm in the middle of a meeting and something's urgent. Okay, boom, Aggie could take care of that. Oh, Timmy could do that. And we're able to just pass it off and the relationship's already there.
Yeah. That's very important. Have you had any client pushback from this new kind of model?
No, that it's
No?
honestly, man, it's been nothing
Yeah.
but good. People love it. And I think part of part of having a different advisor from the team on every meeting, you're getting perspective from all four of us. I think that's
Okay.
really key. You're not just getting Mondo's advice. You're getting Timmy's, you're getting Michelle's, you're getting Aggie's. You're meeting all of them. You're getting all of the perspectives on your situation. So there's there's a subconscious perception there that you're getting the best possible plan you can. Because how can
Yeah.
this many people look at it and not get that?
Mm. That's an interesting perspective because it's kind of like, oh, my thought slipped me there. Actually, I had a thought that I was thinking, but
Well, I'll add this.
yeah,
I'll add this. And this is the way I would look at it. If I was a client, and you got to realize a lot of our clients do come from LinkedIn, and they really don't know they don't know us beyond the content that I put out. You're sure you signed up and you paid us, but at the same time, you're still going to be a little bit skeptical of advice. So now,
yeah,
when you've met with four people who are all giving you the same recommendations, obviously, because we create our plans as a team, and we're telling you, hey, this is what to do, it's a lot easier to trust that than when one person does that.
yeah, and even I feel like having one financial advisor, if you just go with everything that that one person is saying, right? People may be skeptical to do that though. Like, all right, this guy's just telling me what to do. I say yes. I sign paperwork. That's it. Whereas I don't know if you guys had differing opinions. You probably don't because, like you said, you guys set it up like that where you give them the best possible financial advice for them, and that's what you do for them. But I think it gives a subconscious feel to the person that, hey, I can listen to whichever person I want, and then that's the person that I can go with whatever they say. And it allows for there's a psychological thing where, like, you listen to one person for whatever reason. Sometimes it's said that if they look more like you listen to them more, or if they talk like you, have the same mannerisms as you, you listen to what they say more. So having four different people that could potentially reach four different personality types or four different, whatever it may be, I think that plays to your guys' advantages a lot.
But a good point, we do have differing opinions sometimes. So when we're creating
Yeah.
plans, there's been many times where I'll think we should do something and I'll have my case for it. And Tim or Michelle or Aggie, they bring up, well, what about this? Did you think about this? Or vice versa. And it comes up where we'll have a plan and every plan gets a rough draft and then we finalize it after the fact, after we hash it out a little bit.
Yeah.
There's times where the rough draft comes up and we're editing things before we go to the final version. So the power of a team and collaboration is really important in financial planning, in my opinion, because you get those times where it's like, did you think of this?
Mm. So you didn't have that before. Before you were just kind of going based off of your gut instinct, what you think the person should be, or what you think they should have, and then you were just rolling with it from there.
Well, not necessarily just gut instinct. I mean, we're using
Oh yeah.
softwares and stuff to double check our math and make sure we're giving good recommendations. And I wouldn't paint a picture that before or now for any solo advisors that that's bad. I think that it's okay. It's just there's been times where a second set of eyes, even for me as the advisor, has opened up like, oh, that is a good idea. Like we should explore that too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Mondo, you have any final words, a final quote, or piece of advice to leave our listeners with,
A final quote or some words of advice.
or something that you've learned?
Well, something that I've learned Today is October 16th when we're recording this. I don't know when this is coming out, but the past week, last week, I did a keynote speech in Portland, Maine for a conference and very successful people. I mean, it was the level of the conference, it was $700 just to attend, put it that way. So
Wow.
I had an hour keynote. It was the first one I ever did. That growing up, I think a lot of people get this where wherever you're from, there's going to be a lot of people that try to hold you back. And when you think big things, and I think of like that, who does that guy think he is mentality?
Mm.
You get that towards yourself, and people might laugh when you think big things. But I found myself on a stage last week telling a group of over 100 multimillionaires, most of them, how to do something and how I'm growing my business and the success I'm having and what I'm doing with that. And I just sort of took this moment to reflect like, bro, 3 years ago, you were sitting down after 3 months thinking that you were failing out of this business. And now you're in that spot on a stage showing people how they could grow theirs. So I tell that story of myself personally that I hope one person listening to this just realizes like, don't listen to the noise around you. Just keep your head down, do what you got to do, tune that stuff out. And if you control what you could control, you could get after whatever you're trying to get in life.
Awesome, Mando. As always, you always know exactly what to say, when to say it. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on again, man. Your insights are, as always, amazing for me, and I know they're amazing for anyone else who listens to it. So I appreciate that, and thank you for coming on.
Dude, I appreciate you. Awesome time chatting again. And as always, just great conversations.
Yes, sir. And for everyone else out there, follow us on Instagram at excelcast_. Follow us on TikTok at excelcast. We're on Spotify and YouTube at excelcast. And as always, stay blessed and excel.